If you're looking for an emerging small cap company that is literally shattering the performance metrics of an old, conventional, but really big industry to the point that it even signed an LOI with the biggest player in that industry, you're going to love this interview with HPQ Silicon, who is transforming the process for manufacturing fumed silica. You probably don't know what that is if you're new to the show, but it's using cosmetics, toothpaste, powdered foods, all sorts of stuff. And the manufacturing of it hasn't changed since 1944. It's toxic. It sucks up a lot of energy. It's got all sorts of negative things. And HPQ is refining all that. And today they put out another milestone press release. Here's a quote. Here's a title. Stay with me because the CEO is going to explain it. HPQ Fumed Silica Reactor pilot plant achieves first important morphological validation milestone. I know that sounds like a mouthful. That's why we got the biggest mouth at HPQ to talk about it. Bernard, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you, George.
All right, first question before we dive into the press release, backtrack a bit. How does this press release differ from the previous press release when you announced your first fumed silica material had been produced in the pilot plant back on February 27th?
Okay. In the February 27th press release, we said we basically said that the visual meant we just looked at it, and by visual I meant this was done relatively quickly because we were really excited about that news. Very quickly after we had finished the test, so we started to go through the cooling down process. It was a first look at, and we also said that we would then follow up with a more detailed analysis to know where it fits exactly in the visual morphology of the material, because it's important for us. It's really a key factor for us to understand where did the material go in the process of going from solid quartz to fumed silica. Okay. And for us, that was an important thing. Took us a bit of time to get that analysis done. It was done. We got the result. It confirms what we're looking for. And now we're sharing what that result means. And then I'll give more detail of the significance of that results. Okay. Because when you start a process like what we're doing, where we're scaling up by a factor of 20, okay, a process which we've demonstrated works at lab scale, and we're doing it at pilot scale, you basically have to be able to demonstrate that you can replicate the same environment and the same thing that was ongoing with the at lab scale that's going to go work at pilot scale. And that is the first massive milestone of this project. For me, it was the most important one because it means that, okay, we're on the right track. At lab scale, okay, when we did the first material, we made material of a certain quality that was an intermediary phase, because going from solid quartz to fumed silica within the reactor chamber, okay, there's a few chemical action that happened that modified the quartz from a solid quartz to a fumed silica material. We've discovered and we know how to do it and replicate it at lab scale. So we've demonstrated we could do it and we can make the fumed silica, and we've issued all the press release which basically demonstrate that that material was of such a good quality that Evonik signed an LOI with us because it was a commercial material. So now we did this at lab scale. Now we then move on. Okay, it took us time. I understand it took us longer than expected, but we're now validating this at pilot scale, which is a 20 times scaling up of going what we're doing. And at the first real successful test, which is normal, you know, it's not the first time you're going to turn in the machine. You're going to do everything. It wouldn't be realistic to expect at the first time that you're turning on the machine, you'll be producing commercial grade fumed silica. You got to figure out how the parameters work and all those issues. Okay. But at the first time we got the machine in the environmental, close to the operational temperatures required and all the operational parameters to work. Okay. We produced a material that the morphology very similar to what we produced at lab scale. What does that tell us? A, the machine works. And B, since we know where it is within the scheme of transformation, we know what's required of us to do to finish the step to go to fumed silica material. Now, why you didn't do it the first test? Because we're testing the machine. When you test the machine at the beginning, you're trying to get as much data point as there. But eventually, by test 2, by test 3, we'll get a full control over the machine, and then we will make fumed silica. So for me, what that means, okay, And for me, the significance of this secondary press release, which seems to be similar to the first one, is that, okay, we had two big check marks now. Scaling up by a factor of 20, check mark, we did. We made material that is within the range of material that we did at lab scale, check mark. It is a material, it is an intermediary phase to go all the way to fumed silica. Therefore, the process going forward is no check mark. For me, that's a massive milestone reach. Now it's just
Is
really
this
a
one even
question.
bigger? Because on February 27th, you're like, this is the biggest. I'm relieved. This is the biggest. Is this like an even bigger one?
For me, yes.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Okay.
for me, like you have to understand that my technical understanding of this is going to be a few level above everybody else. My problem is
Of course. Yeah. We know that.
explaining those things in layman terms, without getting overly confused with the scientific terms, which I sometimes have the bad habit of going into because I'm all excited about those things. Okay, but in real layman's terms, it was a major one. But it's as we said, it was visual. Okay, and then we got validation at analysis that yeah, we're on the right track. So when I talk to the guys running this program at Pyrogenesis, yes, we feel very comfortable. We've made this material at lab scale when we were preliminary testing the material. So the recipe to go from here to the final product, we know what's required to do. We know what's left to do. So for me, that's why it's so big. Is I told how many times, like when I was going crazy over the delay about it took to get the pilot plant really started to work. Okay, I kept telling, just make me material, the first shot that is similar to what we did at lab scale. Then I know that the rest is going to work out. We're going to do
So
material.
now you're on the move. Now you're on the
Now,
move.
now we're on the moon. We're going to be replicating what we did at lab scale, a material that was good enough, okay,
Yeah.
to get Evonik on board. Now, I can't wait to send them the material, okay? But my goal is going to be, my goal is really going to be, we'll know the material when we're going to be sending them, it's going to be good. We're not going to send them intermediate material. We're going to send them the good material.
Are you sending them this one, or are you going to do
No,
more
no,
and
no,
then
no.
send them?
There's no need to show this one. There's really no need for us. They understand fully where we are in the process. Okay, for them, it's not. I don't know. They might want to see it, but it's not that big of an issue for us. We want to make the commercial fume silica. We want to replicate at pilot scale what we did at at
All
lab
right,
scale.
what's the ETA for that then? What are you thinking? Where do you? How many more? I know you don't know, but ballpark. Each further test will take how long? Until you get to that same material at pilot scale.
It could be. See, this is the issue that's very difficult. Okay, if everything works well at the next step and we don't have any, normal issue, it could be at the next step, or it could be at the test right after. Okay, it could be it could be those issues, and in the meantime, between the tests, we do small process improvement because we're figuring, okay, this thing, because we know what's left to adjust, so they might, to make sure that those things are coming along. So that's the most difficult thing for me to say. Like it could be in one test or four tests.
Well,
That's
in the quote you said, with the pilot plant now producing material with visual morphological characteristics,
mhm.
uh, aligned with our earlier lab scale results, we're more confident than ever in our ability to replicate and accelerate the success. We're positioned to quickly advance towards commercial grade production. So does that mean um, it's it's really within sight now? That
Oh
sounds
yeah.
like it might be one or it might be three, but we're there now. We're 98% confident, whatever, that we're going to
Mhm.
get there now.
Yeah, to put a margin of error, but I would say with 95 plus or minus, but it's really there. Extremely confident we're going to get there. Now it's just the annoyance of the final tweaking of the system, but this is something that the guys of Pyro have done. All right. This is where they exceed at the final mile. Sometimes getting there might take longer, okay? But the final thing they've done, and the guy running this program is the guy that did it at lab scale. So he knows exactly what's required to make the fumed silica. He's the one that did it. So everybody is on the same tune. Listen, Pyro wouldn't have converted their shares at the price they did for their debt, okay, if they didn't know this was coming. Now, the only issue that we're all having, and it's within R&D, and they accept this as much as we do, is sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and timelines are very difficult. Some people criticize us for a timeline, but I think it's more important to look at the success. Okay? And the success is we validated that this technology is scaling up to 25. Why is this so important? It's because when we go to commercial step, okay, when we go full Monty production capacity, which is 1,000-ton per year reactor, okay, it's going to be the same size of scaling up that we're doing now. It's just going to be the machine's going to be bigger, but the same size of scaling up. So it'll be the same size of issues we're dealing with. It'll be the same type of issues that's starting up, but it'll finish at the same results. There is no extra risk to that.
Evonik, I know it's early. You put out the press release today. Any reaction from them when they hear about this? I don't even know. I have no idea if you guys talk. I don't know if
They
you pick up the
are
phones. Hey guys, by the way, or maybe you don't. But I gotta ask.
um they're probably even more excited to want to come and see the system, see it work, and see the first material that we are. Okay. Because this will be a paradigm shift in manufacturing fumed silica. Okay. Now we're just like, we're at the end zone. We're about to do the touchdown. We just got to finish the last amount of work to get it there. But it's there.
And I should also ask then, because you've got other fume silica stakeholders, for lack of a better term, because I don't know who they are under NDA. Uh, are you getting any feedback, feelers, phone calls like, "Hey, Barney, how you doing?" You getting any?
Just this week, I got in another company that's interested. So we're now in the process of doing the NDAs. So I'll be feeling the moment. As I said many times, this is very binary. Okay. The moment the fumed silica reactor makes fumed silica at pilot scale, then the dynamic will change. Then we're going to be focusing much more on operating in a semi-continuous basis than in continuous basis, start producing a lot of material, improving the end product and doing those issues. But right now our goal is just to replicate what we've done at lab scale. That's the right way of doing it.
When you say that binary decision, when you say it's so binary on or off, you see shareholders talking a line about, hey, how come? And we're not talking about stock price. No one's going to make any projections or anything like that. But you see some of the loyal long shareholders say, hey, but how come the stock price isn't progressing? Is the market actually telling you, yep, we see it as a binary event also, so we'd rather wait for it to be on, because technically right now it's still off? What are your thoughts on that? And again, we're not giving any kind of financial advice or stock projections, but it's something to discuss because it's something that comes up with you sometimes in our private discussion. So is that what you think? And again, it's just your opinion, but I gotta ask.
Um, I think some of the issues with regard to the time it took us to get here, okay, and the difficulty we've had in timing our projects has played into the perception. So people are going to be waiting more before they go a bit FOMO, fear of missing out. So right now, there might not be fear of missing out. And I know I've said many times, and this is why I say it's binary. The moment we make it, then it'll be completely different from the moment we haven't made it. So at this moment, you got a choice of how you look at the glass. Okay. Is the glass half full or half empty? I would dare to say that the glass is 3/4 full, and some people would say it's 3/4 empty when they look at the historical. You look at what we've done. But the other thing is, overall, HPQ hasn't really changed what it's done for the last few years. It's working on the same big themes it's been working on. It's advancing on all of them. All right. Last year, when we signed the deal with Evonik and everybody was excited, we were not as advanced. We didn't have the finished pilot plant. Okay. And it took us longer to do. So those type of delays have a cumulative impact where some people say, "Oh, I'll come back and see this when it's later." And the problem for me is I don't really know when that moment's going to be. But what I do know from this press release, okay, is that we're definitely on track to doing it. That's what I know.
Okay. So I don't think we can drill down any more than that in terms of timing and binding and all that, but we'll leave it at that. We had a couple of questions from shareholders on Agoracom, but before we go, do you want to talk about Mr. Robert Robitaille now, or should we say it for the end, as in give him a little honor at the end, or now?
We'll give him now. Mr. Rabidai has been with us since 2008. He's been a very, senior person with experience, a lot of managerial experience. So he was always a person I could go to and have conversation about business strategy deployment. He was very, very professional in what he did. He was putting a lot of time and hours in those issues. It's just that, it's his health wasn't there. He was so professional and dedicated that he wanted absolutely to stay till the end of his mandate, which is going to be in June at the next AGM. But he just couldn't anymore. So I will miss him because I will miss having those conversations with him and discussion of strategy and those type of things. But it does happen. But I'm wishing him
I
the
think we
best.
all owe,
Yeah.
not a lot of us know about Mr. Robitaille, but we all owe some level of gratitude to him. 17
Mhm.
years of the company, and obviously he's been like a conciliary to you. And sometimes directors get more heat because a director sells 100 shares. People are like, why is he selling? But they very, very rarely get credit for helping the management team
Mhm.
through the decision making process. So I think I speak on behalf of everyone when I say, Mr. Robitaille, thank you for your service to HPQ, and
Thank you.
you know good success in in your health,
Your
and then
retirement.
taking and your retirement and taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Couple of questions. One from Matt, which I think you've already answered, but I'm going to say it anyways because he posted to Agoracom.
Mhm.
Congratulations, team, on the milestone. This news release echoes the recent announcement stating the material has been made, and visual inspection shows it's similar to the lab scale system. Was this news release for shareholders, or was it to tell parties under NDA and Evonik that the team knows the process improvement required to quickly, it says archive commercial material. I'm assuming he's meant to say achieve commercial material. So was this for your
Mhm.
shareholders, or is this to send a signal out to the world? Because you know what? I kind of see Matt's point there that shareholders
Actually,
maybe
it's
didn't
it's
really need
it,
this, but maybe the industry did.
it's actually reverse. Think about it.
Wow.
On under NDA, I could have given them that information. I could give them to everybody on the NDA that information. But then that
Point.
information wouldn't. But then shareholders wouldn't have that information.
God,
So you have to
good
think about
point.
it in reverse. The guys under NDA can get all the information they do. The shareholders get the information that the regulators allow us to say. The guys under NDA get more information. But so if you think about it, it's really the reverse. And it's two things. So for those under NDAs, but those that are not yet under NDAs, that are going to be looking at the internet, asking ChatGPT, it says, I need fumed silica material, who can give an or those type of things, they'll find us through these issues. Okay. So, but it's really the reverse. It's not done for the people under NDA. They're under NDA. I can give them the information. There's no problem. It's you shareholders that
Okay.
don't have that information.
Kite Surfer, 1962. I think that's a new one. I don't recall seeing that name before. I'm not on there a lot, but I don't recall it. But if I'm not wrong, this is Kite Surfer, not me. If I'm not wrong, this pilot plant is just an intermediate machine. The commercial
Mhm.
production machine is another 20-fold scale up compared to this pilot plant. So why would Evonik sign an offtake agreement based on the intermediate material made by this intermediate plant? In my view, this second 20-fold scale up to commercial production has more risk than the first scale up. The bigger it gets, the more that can go wrong. Or do you disagree, Bernard?
I disagree because a 20 times scale up is a 20 times scale up. I think it's as simple as that. It's the biggest risk, okay, The biggest risk is from lab scale to pilot, which is it's not just a pilot, it's a proof of commercial scalability, this is why we said by fourth quarter we're going to be doing commercial production. This is a complete proof of commercial scalability of the system and the technology. Okay. Yes, there's still going to be things to change at the bigger plant, but the risk is not bigger. Okay. The risk is exactly the same. If you look at the chart and those issues, it is the same risk. Okay? Now, why would Evonik secure this? Because the moment we do make it, we then become a competitor of them. And then they know. So the key point for this, and it goes back to what I said, okay? Once we make it, then the entire dynamic changes because you either use the expensive pyrolysis,
Pyrogenic?
no, pyrolysis.
Okay.
But yeah, I have a problem with that word in English. Anyway, you know what it is, the traditional process.
And many
Or
others.
you use
Go on.
our process. Okay. It's really that simple. And the energy costs and those issues have been going on. There's a lot of cost competition. There's a lot of material competition. There's a lot of issues with regard to do it. They have, like traditional manufacturers, people don't realize, they have a very complicated supply chain for feedstock, which is not fully independent from them. Unless, like Walker, okay, they're fully vertically integrated, which means they start by making the silicone metal, they convert it to polysilicon, and then their waste material, they use it to make fumed silica. So they're fully integrated within their system. But all of the other one that may just do the fumed silica at the end need somebody to make that their silicone tetrachloride that they use as a feedstock. So they have a complicated feedstock chain, okay? And then they have to deal with the waste material that comes out of their process. And that waste material, well, they need to find somebody else to reuse it for something else. If that doesn't happen, then that changes their costs, all those issues. We have quartz, we have energy, and we have fumed silica.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. So it's conceptually speaking, it is really once we make the material, which we're now in the last dash, okay, in the last innings of accomplishing.
By the way, I'm going to throw just an elementary point in there. As long as you succeed here at pilot plant where you've gone 20x from lab scale, but if you in fact get to the end zone, score the touchdown, binary goes to on, and then you're in play, you don't have to go 20-fold on the next one. You go 5-fold, 10-fold, you go 50-fold, right? I mean, it's just so it's not as if you have to go 20-fold and because the way kite surfer is, you got to go another 20x. If you prove it here, right, you're already technically manufacturing commercial grade here.
Yeah, but it's such a small scale it doesn't work. And we actually funny thing is, okay, now I'll share you some of the secrets of a discussion with Evonik over the time. The original plan I had was to go, okay, let's really do the risk very small. Let's go from 50 tons to 250 tons per year. And Evonik came back and said 250 tons. It's too small. Whoops. Are you there, George?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I pressed the button and you disappeared.
I'm here.
So
I can see it.
Okay, so basically we had this discussion, and then we started to discuss about what's the biggest we could do with the same level of risk to everything. And then the math came out at 1,000 ton. And I sort of like the concept of 1,000 ton because, as I said, the Canadian market is about, I think I said up to 22,000 ton. So, we can have very nice profit generating business plan operating with this. Okay. So that's how we came along. We could have done. We had this exchange. That's why we issued a press release, I think January of last year, where we made internal study, which we will review and redo once we finish the pilot scale, and we'll have a complete feasibility study on this. but it's going to be there. So why is the objective of signing the offtake agreement as well? For them, it'll secure that we don't become a competitor of them, but we become a supplier of their material. And for our financier that are going to be financing it, they know we're going to have a buyer to start with from the beginning. And then, as I said many times, there'll be exchange of knowledge. It's one thing to be able to make the fumed silica, then we have to package it, ship it, and do all those type of things. So if they're involved into it, and that's a learning curve that we don't have to learn. Not that we can't, but why bother?
Why bother? By the way, we also see this, for example, in the pharmaceutical industry. You could be in the pharmaceutical industry once you successfully complete phase 2. That's when most small biopharmas sign deals, big biopharmas, because they've seen enough and they don't need to. And they know phase 3 still has to happen, but they sign agreements after phase 2 success. So it's kite surfer. This is kind of par for the course. Companies are smart enough to know once you get past that phase 2, you're pretty much there, and that's when they all want to lock in their positions, and everybody wins. So, Bernard, thank you, my man. A little shorter than normal because we had a little less to say. Nonetheless, not less important. And it's Tuesday, so God willing, I don't know. I'm going to get that phone call from you pretty soon again. Right? We're all waiting for it. We're all waiting. We're all waiting. And I have no clue, obviously, but I'm waiting for that binary news just as much as anyone. But again, another nice success today. Congratulations to you, the team, everyone at Pyro. And again, to Mr. Rabidai, happy retirement. Thanks for everything you've done. And thanks for everyone at home. Thanks for joining us. Like, comment, share this. Have a great day. Keep posting your comments to Agoracom. We love it. Even YouTube. Those are great comments. Have a great day.
Hey, small cap fam. I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agoracom? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agoracom small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.